and big honor to be here today with you, sharing about the upcoming holiday of Shavuot in Israel, in the Jewish world. Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining. If you're just joining now, feel free to say hello in the chat and tell us where you're tuning in from. Always really nice to know where people are tuning in from. So please say hi so we can see where you're coming from. Hello, Linda from San Diego. Really great to have you. Thank you so much for being here. And Ontario and Toronto, great. Welcome, everybody. Great to have you. And really an honor to be here with you. So really, thank you so much. We have Guatemala, Washington, Sheila from New City, New York. I've heard of that before. Kelly from California, Fairfax, Virginia. Friends who used to live there. South Africa, amazing. Welcome. Great to have everyone here. Thank you for joining. We're going to give people a few more minutes to join, but it's nice that you're here early and have a chance to say hello. Obviously, big things happening here in Israel the last couple of days with the incredible rescue of 4 of the hostages from 2 different houses in central Gaza. The IDF forces doing incredible things since October 7th, doing all they can to both fight Hamas and to free the hostages. And just a day ago, incredible news coming out, and the incredible rescue mission of 4 hostages, bringing incredible joy to the Jewish world, to all of Israel. Of course, our hearts and our thoughts and all of our prayers are still so much with the hostages still there, and we pray for their quick return home. Amen. So thank you, everyone, for being here again, San Diego and Pennsylvania. Great to have you all here. Again, we'll give a couple more minutes for people to join, and then we'll begin our program about Shavuot in the Jewish world, here in Israel specifically. Hello from Alberta. Nice to have you. Eastern Canada. Shalom. Bonjour from Montreal. Great to have you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Green Bay, Wisconsin. We got people from everywhere. Really, really incredible to see. Again, if you're just joining in, say hello in the chat. Tell us where you're tuning in from. And of course, we're really in amazing times right now. The past day with the release of 4 hostages, really celebrating that, and also, of course, praying for the continued success of the IDF and the release of more and more hostages. Hello from Boston and Atlanta and England, Philly. Really great to have everyone here. Manchester, welcome. South Africa, great to have everyone here. Really, really great to be here. Zion, New York. Is that the name of a town? I never heard of that, actually. I'm from New York myself. Listening from Texas, Cynthia, Bristol, UK. Thank you all for being here. Great to have you. Nashville, Tennessee, Maine. Okay, very nice. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Great to have you here. And we'll be starting in just a minute or so. Hello from Portland, Oregon, and Illinois. Really, really great to have you. And again, for those who are just tuning in from Texas, from Boston, of course, here in Israel, where I live, I'm originally from New York. Brooklyn, Shalom, Brooklyn, New York City, Potomac, Maryland. Here in Israel, incredible celebration, obviously, from the incredible mission yesterday, freeing 4 of the hostages, and we're praying for the release of all of them. Please so soon. Kent, Washington, thank you for joining. Great to have you here. Great to be with you all here. Special time that we're in for many reasons on many levels. Fort Myers, Shalom. Great to have you. Thank you for joining. Hello from Colorado. Great to be here. And thank you for everyone's support of Israel and connection to Israel and desire to know more about Israel. Really, really great. Really, really appreciate it. All of us here. And great to have you here in North Carolina. Shalom. And again, just incredible times. Incredible time, I should say, from yesterday, the incredible news coming out of Israel, the returning home of 4 of the hostages. Really amazing. We should celebrate more and more returns of more and more hostages. Northern Ireland, thank you for joining me. From Colombia, people from all over, literally all over the world. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Carolyn, I agree. Am Yisrael Chai, the nation of Israel lives. Obviously, a challenging time that we are in, obviously, since October 7th. Very intense, but also these amazing moments of light and inspiration, and just to see what we call in Hebrew, Mesirat Nefesh, the giving of so many people for the sake of the nation, really putting their personal needs aside to really do what they can, all they can for the nation, has just been unbelievable. Shalom from Skokie, Illinois, in Georgia. Great to have you. We'll begin in just a few moments. Great to have you. Thank you for those just tuning in. Say hello in the chat. And we'll begin our program momentarily about Shavuot here in Israel. So great to have you. As Jonathan says in the chat, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll take a look at those later, and I'll be able to answer some of those. Shalom from Oregon, and also know that this will be recorded. This will be recorded and sent out to everybody, so no worries about that. This will be recorded for those who are wondering, and we will send you a link to the recording afterwards. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining, and we'll begin very, very soon. Just allowing a few more people to join, as that everyone is able to join exactly on time. Shalom from Texas, Bergenfield, New Jersey. I grew up not too far from there. Florida, another Jersey. Thank you all for being here. Great to have you, especially in the shadow, so to speak, of this incredible event that took place yesterday on Shabbat, the rescue, the freeing, and the returning home of 4 Israeli hostages. Shalom, Irene from Berkeley, California. Nice area. Reno, Nevada. Shalom. Great to have everyone here with us. Really, really special time, an important time. Shalom from New Jersey, Karen. Great to have you here. And just great to be together, to learn together, to explore together. Shalom from Kentucky. Good to have someone from Kentucky here. Always nice, right? How can we not have someone from Kentucky? Thank you for being here, really. Definitely, Elena, I agree with you. To remember the soldier, the officer of an elite unit, Yamam, as they're called, who died to rescue those 4 souls. Absolutely. Thank you for the reminder. In Israel, it's a mix of emotions of incredible celebration of the return home of these 4 hostages, and of course, the devastation that anyone was killed in the mission. He was an absolute hero, and everything that's coming out about him since yesterday just really testifies to his incredible devotion and dedication to his people and to his nation. So I'm from Southern Louisiana and from Winnipeg. Okay, great. My friends, we are going to begin. We're going to begin our exploration of Shavuot, all right? Many different aspects, okay, about Shavuot. Shavuot is a very unique holiday in the Jewish tradition, okay? If you look at the 3 main holidays, what we call the pilgrimage festivals, starts with Pesach, Passover, and goes to Shavuot, and then to Sukkot, right? The Feast of Tabernacles, as some people call it. Pesach and Sukkot are both a week long, a full week of holiday. There were so many different rituals and customs and commandments associated with them. And then we have Shavuot in the middle, right? One day, yeah, there's a reason for keeping it 2 days outside of Israel. I'm not going to go into the reason why, right? But really from the Torah, it's one day, and really not that many rituals happening. Yes, there are customs, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, but a very, very interesting holiday. So let's jump into our exploration of it right now. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. So here we go. All right, my friends. All right. So let's begin. All right. And I want to begin with this picture because this picture really says it all about Shavuot. All right. What is Shavuot in its essence? Shavuot is the celebration, the commemoration, the remembering of the historical event that took place to the children of Israel, the Jewish people, thousands of years ago at Mount Sinai in the Sinai desert. receiving of the Torah. Right, let's just kind of zoom out for a moment, gain reference, okay, build a framework for this. Passover was just about 7 weeks ago. Right? And Passover, of course, is celebrating the freedom, the freeing, the exodus from Egypt. And after over 200 years of slavery, the children of Israel are freed from the bondage, right, from the shackles of slavery. They're freed after all these incredible miracles, the 10 plagues. And they come into the desert and they're wandering and they're walking and they're making their way to the land of Israel. And along the way, just 7 weeks later, they come to the Sinai desert, the wilderness of the Sinai, and they get to this mountain. And on this mountain, they're getting ready for an incredible moment, an incredible experience, revelation, right, of the receiving of the Torah. And that's the essence of Shavuot. It's the celebration of the receiving of the Torah, right? The Hebrew Bible that becomes the path of the Jewish people for thousands of years until today, right? So to speak, that's when the law was given. That's when the word of God was handed over to the Jewish people thousands of years ago. Now, it's interesting to note that Passover, again, like I said, between Passover and Shavuot, there's 7 weeks. Right? Why do you need these 7 weeks? And there's lots of great teachings about this, but it's this idea that the children of Israel were freed from slavery. They went through this horrible experience of over 200 years of slavery. They couldn't just go from that, the bottom of the bottom to the top of the top, experiencing this unbelievable moment of God and with God and receiving the Torah. They needed some time to kind of prepare themselves. So these 7 weeks between Passover and Shavuot is this time. They are this time of preparation. It's called actually the counting of the Omer. We actually literally count 7 weeks, 49 days between Passover and Shavuot. And at the end of the counting, on the 50th day, that's Shavuot. It's interesting to note that Shavuot is the only holiday in the entire Torah, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, all the holidays that are mentioned there, that does not have a specific date. It just says 50 days after you start counting these 7 weeks, right? From the second day of Passover, you start counting 7 weeks, 49 days, and the 50th day, that's Shavuot. Not a specific date is given, okay? And that shows just how connected Passover and Shavuot are. Passover is the freeing, finally we're done. Oh my God, with that slavery, that horrible experience. But what were we freed for? Just for the sake of being free? Now, being free after being enslaved is an unbelievable thing. Of course, don't get me wrong. Right? That in and of itself is worthy. But God wanted more for the Jewish people, right? Not just to be free and now just do whatever you want, go whatever way you want to go. No, we're going to give you a tafkid, as we call it, a mission, a purpose. And Shavuot represents the mission, the purpose of why they were freed in the first place. Right? Freed, of course, to get out of slavery, right? But to come towards what? So that you're leaving that behind, but what are you coming towards? And the moment that they come to this mountain, Mount Sinai, and they receive the Torah, they get their mission in the world. They get the handbook, so to speak, right? The instruction book, the guide for life. And that really gives meaning and understanding for what they're here in the world to do. Right? So this is the essence, again, of the holiday of Shavuot for thousands of years. Jews have been celebrating it as the moment that the Torah was given to them. Right? It's a celebration literally of Judaism. Right? Judaism and the giving of the Torah are synonymous, right, with one another. And we know that it took place in according to the Hebrew Bible, it took place in the wilderness of Sinai. Now, it's an interesting thing. If you go, I'd been to the Sinai many, many years ago once for a few days. I never went inside to like where all the mountains are. But from what I've heard from people who have been there, the mountains there look very similar to the mountains outside of Eilat in the south of Israel. Gorgeous, beautiful, high peaks, right? Amazing hiking. Now, there's tons of mountains there, right? Which one is Mount Sinai? Now, according to Jewish tradition, we don't know because the Jewish tradition never really cared which one was Mount Sinai because it didn't have its own inherent holiness. It was holy, so to speak, for the moment that this thing took place, right? The giving of the Torah took place in it. Before, not holy. During, holy. Afterwards, not holy once again. And that's why the Jewish people never really had this desire or need to look for the mountain, so to speak. I don't know what you would really even look for. How would you distinguish it? Especially in the Sinai desert, in the Sinai Peninsula, the wilderness, where there's tons and tons of mountains. But anyway, we know the geographical location area that the mountain is found, that the mountain is found in, and it pretty much looks something like that. Okay, Of course, like we said, right? Moses goes up the mountain. He goes there for 40 days and 40 nights with no food, no water. It's a whole thing described in the Torah of this revelation, right? And he comes down with the 10 Commandments. And again, that's what we're celebrating on Shavuot, is the coming down, right? Is that moment of giving, that moment of revelation of the Torah in the world to the Jewish people. Now, let's fast forward a little bit, because that's not the only aspect of Shavuot. When you look in the Torah, there's a few different names for the holiday of Shavuot. It makes Shavuot also unique. Besides the fact that it's just one day, it has like multiple names which speak about the multiple aspects of Shavuot, right? One of the names of Shavuot is Chag HaBikurim, right? The holiday of the first fruits. And the Torah says explicitly, and it's a commandment, at least it was a commandment in ancient Israel, when there was what? The temple in Jerusalem. As you can see in this picture in the background, that's the temple. And the temple stood at two different times in Jerusalem. That was the main place of worship. For hundreds of years, it was the only place of worship. Okay? We are so used to today in the Jewish world, all of these synagogues, right? Multiple synagogues in different Jewish communities. Back then, in the first temple time, right, which goes back around 3,000 years ago, there was only one place. There was no synagogues. There wasn't even such thing as a synagogue. It was only the temple. And that lasted about 410 and 420 years. It gets destroyed. It gets rebuilt. And then again lasts for 400 plus years. That gets destroyed by the Romans, okay, in the first century CE. But for that 800 plus years that the temple stood in these two different times, it served as a pillar, as a central part of Jewish life. And when the Torah stood, so the Jews living at the time had a commandment of bringing the first fruits. Now, what does that mean? It means like this. There are 7 species that the land of Israel is known for. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Okay? There's 7 special species. Okay? And on the holiday, or as leading up to the holiday of Shavuot, when these species are growing on their trees, okay, and the farmer is in his orchard, in his field, and he sees, the first one of these fruits pop up and just start to grow, not yet fully ripe, but just start to grow, he takes a little string or a little something and he ties a little knot around it as a sign that this is the first one that I saw. This is the first fruit that I saw of this tree this year. And when this one grows bigger and ripens, I'm going to pick it. I'm going to put it in a basket with other first fruits from other species of these 7 species. And we're going to bring it joyously to Jerusalem on the holiday of Shavuot. Right? So holiday of Shavuot is, yes, on one level, a historic commemoration of the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, but it is also an annual, year after year festival of the bringing of the first fruits. It's a celebration of the 7 species of Israel. It's a celebration of the produce of the land of Israel. It's a celebration of the agricultural cycles. Now, if you look at the 3 pilgrimage festivals that I mentioned before, Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot, they also line up with different times, phases, stages of the agricultural process as it unfolds here in the land of Israel. And Shavuot is the time that we're bringing the first fruits. If there's other fruits that don't ripen in time, so you bring it later, all the way up until Hanukkah time, but the ideal time is to bring it on Shavuot. And in the oral tradition, they describe what it looked like. People coming to Jerusalem, to the temple, with their baskets of fruit from all the different communities, from all around the land of Israel. There was nothing like it the entire year. There was nothing like it. It was almost like a one big parade happening in all these different directions. People did it joyously with musical instruments, right? Everyone together with their basket, and people from Jerusalem would come out and greet them before they entered into the city. It was a very, very, very special moment, right? And then they would come into the city, right, as we also can see in this picture, bringing their baskets of their first fruits, of all these different fruits, and they would hand it over to Kohanim, to priests, who worked in the temple. In this picture, they're the ones wearing white. And they did this whole ceremony, this whole ritual, where they would bring the fruits, the first fruits, give it to the priest. They would do a whole waving ceremony, and that person bringing the fruits would recite all of these verses from the Torah, right, having to do with, like, basically the story of the Jewish people. right? Kind of like recounting the history. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing moment. And really what it's all about, and we see this on Passover too, and also Sukkot, right? The different agricultural items, so to speak, that are being offered, that are being brought, that it's a moment of gratitude. It's a moment of giving thanks. Oh, thank you for the fruit. I'm giving some of my fruit, right, as a way of saying thank you for the abundance of fruit that I received this year. And it's like these 3 times in the year to celebrate what came in, to show gratitude for what came in, right? And to give of what you gained, right? As a way to say thank you, right? For all that you were blessed with. A really beautiful thing. So really, this is such a essential piece to the ancient way that Jews celebrated the holiday of Shavuot. Now, we don't do this anymore because there's no temple. I mean, you can make a basket of the 7 fruits and look all pretty. That's great. But there's no temple to bring it to. There's no priest to bring it to. There's, you're not going to go to a place and wave it and recite all these verses. And you might, adorn your Shavuot dinner table with it or lunch. That's fine. It's great. But there's no commandment the way there used to be when the temple actually stood. This was Shavuot in ancient Jewish times when the temple stood. Okay. Now, what does Shavuot look like today? All right. Basically, like I mentioned before, that you don't really find commandments that have to do with Shavuot. Again, Passover, eat the matzah, the whole Seder, 4 cups of wine, tell the story, don't eat chametz the entire week. Sukkot, you build the sukkah, you live in the sukkah, you eat in the sukkah, you wave the 4 species. There's so many different things happening in these holidays. Shavuot, today, we don't bring bikurim, we don't bring the first fruits. What are we doing? Right? It's like a Shabbat. So we don't work. We don't do all kinds of stuff that we normally do. But what do you do? So in a post-temple reality, Shavuot looks very, very different. And what eventually it developed into is, because it's a holiday that, as we said, celebrates the giving of the Torah, right? So the tradition developed eventually to spend the entire night of Shavuot. After, you go to the synagogue and you do your prayers. You go home, you have a festive meal. And after the festive meal, after you've cleaned up around 12 o'clock at night, people go out and they learn until the morning. They stay up all night, hours, right? Maybe around 4:30 in the morning, they start the morning prayer. So you're learning for a good 4.5 hours all night long. And this is really the main celebration these days, and for many centuries, of Shavuot in modern day Jewish life, including today in Israel. Okay. Now, where does this custom come from? There's an oral teaching that says that the children of Israel, on the morning of the giving of the Torah, they were still sleeping, and Moses had to go around the camp and wake them up. And you can imagine, how could you be sleeping at a time like this? I have to wake you up. So the staying up all night and learning and anticipating the moment of the morning when the Torah was given, right, is almost like a spiritual fixing for that. So that's like a main thing. It's not an obligation. So if you go to sleep at 12 at night, that's fine. You didn't do anything wrong. But it is a very, very powerful custom, and a very, very widespread custom across the Jewish world, across the different denominations. Here we see Orthodox Jews learning, but you see this throughout all the different denominations, that people have classes, lectures, learning with a friend, learning by themselves, whatever it might be. Okay. There's also a tradition to say something called Tikkun el Shavuot. And this is literally a compilation of sections of every single book of the Torah and piece of Jewish learning, basically. And it takes a few hours to say the whole thing, but some people say the whole thing on the night of Shavuot. That's like their learning experience, just saying this whole, as they call it for short, tikkun. And again, it's like a few passages from the first book of Genesis, and then the next book. The first Torah portion, and the next Torah portion, and the next, and it goes through the whole Torah, and then it goes through the whole rest of the Hebrew Bible, the 24 books of the Bible, and it goes to the Mishnah, and it goes to the Gemara, and then it goes to other things. And it's a real kind of like a large helping, let's call it, of Torah that many people have the tradition to do. Again, not an obligation. Many people do it though on the night of Shavuot. All right, let's fast forward. Let's go to, what did Shavuot look like in the early years of Zionism? I'm not even yet saying State of Israel, all right? But even before the State of Israel came into existence in 1948, there was this new profound connection and celebration of Shavuot in modern day Jewish times. What was it? It was brought to life by the chalutzim, as we call them, the pioneers, the early Zionists, who came at the end of the 1800s, the beginning of the 1900s. Many of them were young, single, and secular. They came from rich Jewish backgrounds, but they weren't so into like all the minutiae of Jewish law and the keeping of this and that. They were still very connected Jewishly. Obviously, they came to the land of Israel. They left everything they knew behind to come to the land of Israel to bring back to life the land of Israel and help to rebuild the Jewish people in the land of Israel. So they're definitely strongly connected, but just not so much in a religious way. And they found different expressions, different ways of celebrating the traditional holidays. When it came to Shavuot, they knew Shavuot is basically an agricultural holiday. And many of these pioneers, many of the early Zionists, the main thing they were doing, the only thing they were doing was farming the land of Israel. Because so much of the land of Israel laid fallow, laid empty, laid not used, even abused over centuries and centuries and centuries, even thousands of years, we can say. And they saw their mission as bringing back this land. So this picture we see here are a group of early Zionist women who were going out to the fields to work the field hours and hours and hours a day, sometimes in the blistering sun. And you read the journal entries of these early pioneers and what it was like for them to work the land of Israel at this time. They said it was a dream come true. They said despite the heat, despite the lack of food, despite the malaria and all the sicknesses we're getting, this is a dream come true, right? That we get to be part of the redemption, so to speak, of the land of Israel through our physical labor. And so, of course, since they were so much focused on the labor in the land of Israel, when it came to the holidays, which, yes, they do, like we said, have an agricultural root, that's what they celebrated, right? Here's a group of men, early male Zionists, right, who came to this land and doing hard labor, moving earth, building communities, making buildings, doing the farm work as well, right? Then this is what they knew they needed to do. If they didn't do this, the state of Israel never would have been born. It couldn't happen. It was on their shoulders, literally on their work, that the state of Israel came into existence in 1948, right? And again, as a result, when it came to Shavuot, and this is a Shavuot celebration, okay, in the early years of Israel, right, what are they celebrating? Maybe less the giving of the Torah because they're not coming from a religious angle, but they're definitely celebrating the agricultural aspect, right? The 7 fruits, the first fruits, like we mentioned before, and that becomes a serious thing. They take it very seriously. And every year in Shavuot, in pre-state Israel, right, and amongst these Zionist circles, and post-state, right, after 1948, still continues until this day, right? Specifically the kibbutzim, these communal villages, and the moshavim, these agricultural communities, celebrating the land of Israel on Shavuot, the fruits. Right? This is like a classic picture, right, reminiscent of when the spies came from the land of Israel to tell the rest of the nation what it was like there. The Torah says that they held, these poles of wood with grapes, draped over them, and so that for them was Shavuot, the first fruit. This is the holiday of the first fruits, the holiday of the first fruits. This is what they're celebrating, right? And it's an amazing thing and again, like I said, up until today, this is modern day pictures, right? This is their way. This is their expression. Again, maybe less of the religious connection, but absolutely connected Jewishly to Israel, to the land of Israel. There's just on the road from where I live, there's one of these kind of communities. Again, like more secular, but totally connected in their agricultural kind of way. And a couple times I've been in that area for Shavuot, actually. And I see me and my friends, and we're like learning Torah and doing our prayers and all that kind of stuff. And right next to it, they're doing stuff just like this. They bring out the tractors, they have the dances and these plays and the fruits and the agricultural abundance. It's quite amazing to see. Okay, quite amazing to see. And the kids learn all about it. They have these parades and the bales of hay and hay rides and all this kind of stuff. And they have these baskets, right? The baskets are reminiscent of the bringing of the first fruits, like back in the day in Jerusalem when the temple stood. Right, an amazing thing to see, a modern cultural expression from the more secular side of Israel today of an ancient Jewish holiday, that being, of course, Shavuot. Okay, we're going to get to the 7 species in just a moment. Okay, but just for now, I want to stop sharing this. Hold on one second. Okay, and I do want to bring to all of our attention right? The incredible work that Meir Panim has been doing and continues to do in Israel. Meir Panim is a leading organization in Israel, helping Israelis who live below the poverty line, children, families, single mothers, deal with everyday life and all the financial challenges, and making sure they have enough to eat, right? Food on the table, warm food to give their kids, food that their kids can have when they come home from school. They also help other populations like Holocaust survivors and soldiers, IDF soldiers in general, specifically what we call lone soldiers. Those are soldiers who came to Israel without their families from America, Russia, who knows where. And they came to serve in the IDF. And when they have a weekend off, they go home to an apartment where no one's doing their laundry, no one's cooking them dinner, right? And they feel kind of like alone and like left out. Right? Those soldiers who are born here, they go home and their friends and their family welcome them. They just throw their laundry bag, down, and automatically it's clean when they go back to base and they get these meals. So Meir Panim is also helping these lone soldiers, and since October 7th, they've been doing tremendous things for those affected by the horrible attacks on Israel on October 7th, including evacuated families who had to leave the Gaza area, as well as the north. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of Israelis who still are not in their homes since October 7th. So we just put a button up on the screen, all right? And you can donate to Meir Panim and all the incredible things that they are doing. And this specific drive is to help all of these communities I just mentioned have enough food for Shavuot, right? The holidays are a special time for people to get together with families and friends around what? Around meals, right? In the presentation, we're talking so much about food. And Meir Panim was giving out tons and tons of food to Israelis all over the country, especially evacuated families. Again, families who are out of their house since October 7th. Have not been home. Maybe their home doesn't even exist. Many of the homes around the Gaza border, destroyed. Many of the homes along the Lebanese border, destroyed. They don't even have homes to go back to, right? And Meir Panim is making sure that they're taken care of, that they are not forgotten. Along with Holocaust survivors, along with lone soldiers, they have a lot of work to do. And they have a lot of people to help. And your donations will help make sure that Meir Panim can continue to help these populations, these populations in need. Okay, so here is the button. You can click on that, donate here. I already see a lot of people have been donating already. Thank you so much on behalf of Meir Panim. If you donate, you can share in the chat. If you want to do it in memory of somebody, in honor of somebody, feel free to do that in the chat. Amazing, again, seeing the number of clicks going up and up, and just appreciate that so much. And just know I visited many Meir Panim centers. They're scattered throughout the country. Every time I go to one, it's an incredible thing, right? To see the love and the warmth and the food that they give. But you know what? It's not even only about the food. Of course, it's about the food. Very, very important. People go there for a hot meal and they get food to take home. People who literally wouldn't have a warm meal the entire day, a hot meal. But it's more than just the food. These people come in, these needy people come in, and it's the only time all day in their life that someone's talking to them, that someone's asking them, how are you? Says their name. So it gives them food physically, but it gives them food, nourishment, emotionally and spiritually as well. It's an incredible thing. Right? This is a great time to stand with Israel, to support Israel. Israel, we're in the middle of this war now going on for 8 months. It's not an easy time in Israel. Meir Panim is doing all that he can to continue to help more and more people than they ever have helped before. And the only way they can do that is through these donations. We just appreciate so much everyone who is able to give. Really, really, really thank you so much. And again, if you want to honor somebody or give in memory of somebody, please feel free to share it in the chat. It's always nice for everyone to see. Okay, I'm going to go back to my presentation. So I just need to say right now, I just saw someone give in memory of Arnon Zamora. Thank you so much, Dawn. Right, that's the officer of the elite unit, your mom, the one soldier who was killed in yesterday's rescue mission of the 4 hostages. Right, unbelievable things coming out about him as a person, as a soldier, as an officer, as a husband, as a father. So thank you, Dawn, so much. May his memory, as Jonathan just said, be a blessing for all of Israel. Thank you. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. You can continue to give, and let's continue with our sharing of the holiday of Shavuot. Here we go, specifically in Israel. All right, we ended here talking about the 7 species. I referenced this before. Let's go into a little bit more detail. What are the 7 species that the land of Israel is known for? 5 fruits and 2 grains. The fruits are olives, figs, pomegranates, grapes, and dates. The 2 grains are barley and wheat. These are the 7 species. These are the species that they would bring the first fruits from back in the day in ancient Israel when the temple stood. Right? But we still talk about this. Little kids all in Israel, secular, religious, it doesn't matter. They learn about the 7 species. They have songs about the 7 species. They celebrate the 7 species. I mean, these are foods that are normal and regular on any Israeli table, especially dates and olives everywhere. Right? Kids eat olives here like popcorn. Right? Figs in the right season, pomegranates in the right season, grapes as well. Right? And of course, wheat and barley in their time also. You know, driving on this land, you just see these trees growing abundantly everywhere. And of course, fields and fields of wheat and barley. You see the 7 species of Israel literally coming to life. It's an amazing thing. Let's just talk a little bit about a few of these species. We're not going to talk about all 7. Let's just talk about a few of them. So that you can picture this, a girl in red celebrating, like laughing with holding the red rimon. Rimon is pomegranate in Hebrew. And I mean, literally, I was just 2 days ago, I was driving a few minutes from my house, a huge field of pomegranate trees. Beautiful, beautiful. And the buds like this, the flower, I should say, I'm sorry, the flowers are just starting to turn into the fruit. And the fruits will be ready in the fall time, just in time for Rosh Hashanah, when it's customary to have a pomegranate on your Rosh Hashanah dinner table. All right. But I love this picture, right? I'm sure you guys are seeing what I see. That the bottom of the pomegranate, almost every single pomegranate has this. What does it look like? It looks like the Star of David. It looks like the Jewish star, right? A triangle pointed up and a triangle pointed down, where you can say 6 triangles around the center. It's amazing to see that in one of the fruits that is native to the land of Israel, right? The 7 species of the land of Israel, 7 native species of the land of Israel, you see the Star of David, literally, like physically on it. Quite amazing, quite powerful. Okay, as I said, it's customary to have pomegranate on Rosh Hashanah, because on the night of Rosh Hashanah, we're eating all kinds of symbolic foods that will symbolically remind us of the kind of year that we want to have, even be a prayer of sorts for the kind of year that we want to have. And the rimon, the pomegranate, has so many seeds. It's a symbol of abundance. And we're eating the pomegranate on Rosh Hashanah as a sign, as a symbol, as a prayer that we should all have an abundant year, abundant health, abundant wealth, abundant goodness, abundant peace. Okay, and you see pomegranates all over Israel in the stores, and of course at the juice stands. These are gigantic pomegranates. This is not an uncommon sight to see a juice bar like this, probably in Tel Aviv, but also all over the country, making pomegranate juice. It's so good, and as you might know, it's also so healthy, high in antioxidants. All right, moving on to the olive tree. All right, the olive tree all over the land of Israel. And the olive tree is really interesting because they can be super, super old, but not grow tall. They barely grow tall, they grow wide. But even that, they go very slow. Believe it or not, all right, this comes from a valley just outside of the old city in Jerusalem. Okay, this tree and the trees around it are aged at 2,000 years old. Again, it doesn't look at it like from the height and even the width, you can say, but this tree, because of the way that olive trees grow, has been aged at 2,000 years old. This tree was just getting its start when the Second Temple was still standing in its final years. Unbelievable, right? And so we have olive trees all around this land, of course, giving its fruit abundantly. The olives, which are harvested in mass. Back in the day, people would stand on the ground or on ladders and just whack the tree with a big stick and put a tarp around it and watch all the olives rain down. People still do that today. You can see it happening sometimes on the sides of the roads here in Israel. But also today, people use these like machines where it's almost like a little tractor that comes to the tree, extends an arm, grabs the tree, shakes the tree, and all the olives fall into this big kind of vat. Kind of the modern way of doing it. But olives are huge here in Israel, all kinds of varieties. It's a native species, part of the 7 species. Of course, we make olives out of it, but of course also olive oil. Many people make their own olives, pick them themselves, make them themselves in their kitchens in these glass jars. It takes a few months to get good, but these olives are abundant all over the land, and of course also play a role in Jewish history, but also in Jewish ritual. Right? Many people light their Shabbat lights with olive oil, like my wife does actually. Right, the Hanukkah menorah. You can use candles, that's fine. Many people like to use olive oil. Why? Because the whole story of Hanukkah is about the olive oil. Right, the oil that they use, that little flask of oil that lasted, 8 days instead of one, that was olive oil. It was only the purest of the purest of the purest olive oil that was used to kindle the menorah that stood in the temple 2,000 years ago. So great historical as well as religious connection there as well. Right. Of course, people just love the taste of olive oil, especially good, fresh, homemade olive oil. Dumping or dipping a pizza in it, so good. If you never tried it, highly recommend it. And of course, you go to the stores here, you go to the markets here, tons and tons of olives of all different varieties and kinds. A big part of the Israeli cuisine. Right, and even you see it on the symbol. Talking about symbols, of the symbol of the IDF. Right, if you look at the symbol of the IDF, it's three things in one. It's the Jewish star in the background. It's the sword, right? The Jewish star in the background, representing the Jewish state, Jewish values, Jewish people, Jewish homeland. The sword, right? Because we have all these enemies, we have to fight, and we will. We will fight them. We'll fight strong. But the olive branch overlaying the sword, right? Because the olive branch is a symbol of peace, and saying that we will fight and we'll continue to learn how to fight and fight very well, right? As long as we have to, but know that our vision and our goal is peace. And that's why so many Jewish prayers end with a prayer for peace. Right? So you see all that overlaid in the symbol for the IDF. Moving on to figs. If you never had a fresh fig, oh wow, right off the tree, amazing. Certain time of the year, you see figs on trees starting to grow. At first, they're all green. Then they get purple. That's when you know that they're ready to pick. And they are so amazing. They love to grow by water. They suck up a lot of water. That's the fig tree in its classic form, shape of its leaves. And again, this is the fresh fig, cut open, super delicious, super sweet in a natural kind of way, and an amazing eating experience to have. Most people know figs as being dried. Like I said, I don't live in an area where there are fresh figs available, and some people prefer the dried ones. It's interesting to note that back in the day, people would carry around these wheels of pressed dried figs, where they would make it into these fruit leathers, and they would carry these with them as they traveled because they're like superfoods, right? The fig is a superfood, and so filled with calories and energy. And people would bring these wheels or these leathers of pressed figs and just keep kind of nibbling at it, almost like a trail mix, right? So they didn't have to bring too much food, but it would last them a long time and last them on their way. Okay, so that, my friends, is a little look at the 7 species of Israel. And again, this all connects back. Let's just go back to this picture over here. Right, this all connects back to the holiday of Shavuot. Right, that's coming up in just a couple of days. Why? How? To remind ourselves, because on Shavuot, right, in addition to it being the celebration of the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai thousands of years ago, it is also a celebration of the 7 native species of the land of Israel, from which the first fruits were brought. Right? When we talk about the first fruits being brought to the temple in Jerusalem thousands of years ago, it was only the first fruits of the 7 species, nothing else. Right? If there was like a different kind of species that was from outside the land of Israel, or even just not part of the 7 species, like almonds, that was not brought to the temple. Only these 7 special species, right? So this is a really central piece and part of the celebration of Shavuot as well. Again, back in the day, through the bringing of the first fruits from these 7 species, and today, just remembering, a lot of people adorn their Shavuot table, even though there's no obligation to do so. They do it because it's a custom, and it's a beautiful custom. They adorn their Shavuot table with these fruits, right? to remind us of this deep connection that this holiday Shavuot has with these 7 native species from the land of Israel. So really we can say it's an interesting thing. Right? Shavuot in ancient times was both a spiritual holiday, remembering the giving of the Torah, and a physical holiday, bringing of the fruits. Okay, the spiritual and the physical coming together, being both represented, and in modern day times as well. Right, we still remember the commemoration or the giving of the Torah on this day. We celebrate it, we learn it. Many people staying up all night and going to classes and lectures and learning with their friends and groups and all that kind of stuff, connecting to the Torah on a spiritual level, and also physically by having foods that are connected to the 7 native species of the land of Israel to also celebrate the physical land of Israel. So again, you have the spiritual, the studying of the Torah, and the physical celebration, the celebration of the physical land of Israel and the produce that it gives forth, the native species that come from it. And it's a really beautiful kind of, connection or coming together of the spiritual and the physical in this very unique holiday, like we said. Shavuot is just one day. It's not a week like Passover. It's not a week like Sukkot. It's one day in Israel. 2 days outside of Israel, again, for reasons I'm not going to get into. But that's a unique holiday in that sense. We've been counting towards it since the second day of Passover, right? Anticipating it, getting ready for it, preparing ourselves for it. 7 weeks. Right? You have the 7 weeks, you have the 7 species, right? And maybe we can say that, it's not such an easy thing to combine the spiritual and the physical together. That's why we need these 7 weeks. Okay, to really kind of prepare ourselves. But that really does speak of the essence of Judaism, going back to the Jewish star that we see at the bottom of the pomegranate, right? You have a triangle pointing up towards the heavens, which represents spirituality. You have a triangle pointing down towards the earth, which represents physicality. And they come together beautifully in the Jewish star. We have both of these represented, that we must give attention both to the spiritual and to the physical. One without the other is an incomplete life, according to Judaism. Right? And you see this so beautifully come together on Shavuot. Again, with the spiritual study of the Torah all night long, and the physical celebration of the land of Israel. And I think that's really why we can say that the early Zionists were so connected to this holiday, because they really came back to this land. Right? They left the exile behind. They came back to the land to celebrate the land. They got so involved with the land, nursing the land back to health, right, so to speak, farming the land in some areas for the first time in centuries, loving this land, right, and dedicating their heart, soul, sweat, and tears to this land. And really through that, really came the Jewish state, which again really is represented by the Jewish star, the symbol of the coming together both of the spiritual and the physical. And that, my friends, is a look at Shavuot today in the Jewish world at large, in Israel specifically, from ancient times to modern times, to all these different aspects, right? To the study, to the 7 species, to the cultural and religious celebrations of this one holiday. There's a lot in here. You can almost study the Jewish people in a very big way just through this one holiday. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining and being here. And again, such an honor to be able to share on behalf of Meir Panim. The button is still on the screen, as you can see. And I want to invite you again, if you haven't given already, to donate to Meir Panim and all the amazing work that they're doing. Once again, like I said before, I want to say it again. They're helping Holocaust survivors, right? They're helping lone soldiers who have left everything, their homes, their families, their land, to be part of the IDF and to defend the Jewish people here. Yes, just to say that this was recorded, and you will get the recording, so that just everyone know that there is a recording out there, and you will get it, fortunately. So Meir Panim, again, Holocaust survivors, lone soldiers, families, single mothers living below the poverty line. And again, since October 7th, so many evacuated families. So many families who had to leave their homes where they don't have a home anymore because they lived next to Gaza Strip or next to Lebanon, and they had to leave for safety. And again, many of them, hundreds of thousands of Israelis are still out of their homes. They haven't gone back to their community since October 7th in the area of Gaza or October 8th in the area of Lebanon. Okay. And so please, if you can, please give what you can to Meir Panim. I've seen it front and center, front lines myself with my own eyes, all the incredible work that they're doing for the people in Israel, those who most need it. And again, just a real honor to be here with you to share about Shavuot coming up in just a couple of days, a beautiful holiday. Thank you for participating. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And again, the button for donations is still up. If people have questions, I'm happy to take any questions that anybody might have. And just really a pleasure and an honor to be here with you and for you to share a bit about Shavuot. Thank you, Juanita, for your comments. So sweet of you. Carolyn, I agree with you 100%. Giving is a form of worship. Thank you so much. And really, if you want to make your donation in honor of somebody, in memory of somebody, of course, please do that. You can even share that in the chat. It's always a nice thing to see what people are giving, for who or for what. I see one question coming in that says, since Moshe broke the first tablets, does Shavuot celebrate the first or second giving of them? Very good. Good question. So Shavuot celebrates the first giving of the tablets, the first time when he goes up. That's the first giving, is because the whole nation stood there, right? The whole 10 Commandments, and then he goes up, and then he's has his whole experience up there. So very good. That represents the first giving of the tablets. Okay, that's Shavuot, and then of course the story continues with them breaking and him throwing them down, and then he goes back up and he gets a second set. Right, but yes, this is celebrating the first giving of the tablets. Yeah, and I will say, Jonathan's mentioning in the chat that we have this great thing called Israel in 5. You can sign up for it. It's free. It gets right to your email inbox. 5 videos a week, 5 minutes each one, just giving you so much about Israel, both ancient and modern. Thoughts on the weekly Torah portion called Israel in 5. You can sign up at Israel5.org, Israel5, the number 5.org, O-R-G. If you're not already signed up for it, definitely sign up for it. It's been an amazing thing and a joy, honor, and pleasure for me to share these videos every single week, 5 times a week with everybody. So again, thank you so much for being here. The button is still on the screen. You can still give if you want. Thank you everyone for the recommendations of Israel in 5. Great to see so many people out there already tuned into it. And if you haven't yet signed up, feel free. Israel5.org for free. You get these videos right to your inbox and your email. Israel5.org, O-R-G. An easy way to connect even deeper every single day to Israel. So again, thank you. A pleasure and honor. We'll still be here. The button is still on. And again, just thank you. And in 2 days, we'll be celebrating Shavuot. Such a beautiful holiday. Can't wait. Really a great time. A great time. And hopefully what we shared today will enhance your Shavuot understanding and or celebration even more. That is the hope. So again, just to make that point clear, Shavuot is celebrating the first giving of the tablets when Moses is going to go up. Okay, when he goes up and they hear the first 2 of the 10 Commandments, the nation, according to the passage in the Torah, the entire nation hears the first 2 commandments directly from God, and then after that, Moses hears them and then shares them with the nation. And it's 40 days later that he'll come down, right, with the tablets. So the Shavuot is celebrating the initial kind of revelation of, of the wonders that took place in Mount Sinai. So again, great to be here. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in, for being here. And for everyone who is able to give, we just appreciate it so much. Meir Panim appreciates it so much, using all of your donations to continue to do its amazing work here around Israel, for all of these communities that we mentioned before: Holocaust survivors, evacuated communities, lone soldiers, soldiers in general, and those in real financial need. So again, thank you so much. Great to be here. Honor and a pleasure. Wishing you all a great Shavuot, and hope to see you next time. And again, if you haven't signed up already for Israel in 5, that's Israel 5, the number 5, Israel5.org. Send out 5 videos, one for each 5 days of the week, in the middle of the week, so to speak, from Sunday to Thursday. One of those is a war update, actually. One is a thought in the Torah portion of the week, and others having to do with Israel, modern Israel, ancient Israel. It's really, I think I've been an amazing project. So thank you, everybody. Wishing you all the best. God bless. And I'm going to say shalom from Israel, and hope to see you next time. All the best, and be well.